just in case.
Yeah. Okay, we will bang the gavel. We'll call the meeting to order of the Butler Community College Board of Trustees. This is our regular board meeting, Tuesday, October 11th. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Do you have changes?
Do we have any? No one said anything to me. Do we have any?
One question, our executive session is going to be somewhat in regards to that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, it will.
I was moved.
Second.
Seeing no discussion.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
trustee Winslow, trustee Shearer,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
Yes. Thanks, everybody. That passes 7-0. Dr. Kroll, we'll turn it over to you for recognitions.
Yeah, thank you. First recognition is Alyssa Rumpel. I don't know if she's not here, but I don't know if she's online either. Alyssa has been, she's one of our Spanish instructors and was chosen as the 2022 Kansas World Language Association Teacher of the Year. This is an honor for her tremendous work as a Spanish teacher with the Wichita Public Schools. She teaches for us now as well. Her success in world language teaching includes coordinating and sponsoring student trips to different countries to help students connect more deeply to the culture and community, as well as organizing and coordinating student events on college campuses. So we're pleased to recognize Alyssa and tell her congratulations and know that she's doing great work in our classrooms as well.
Congrats. I like that.
And then I also want to recognize a group of people. Butler has been named one of the best colleges for veterans. And this was based in part on a survey that was completed by Amy Cyphers, who is our Director of Veterans Affairs. Is that the correct title? I think. Jessica. Anyway, she's the person that works so directly with our veterans. Willow Dean, who's our registrar, Dr. Isa Mohammed in IR. And then the Butler Veterans Advisory Board. I'm so sorry that I slaughtered that. Do great work as well. We want to recognize them along with the academic advisors and other staff who work every single day to support our veterans and provide the services and student support that they need and deserve and want. So Isam, I'll give you your certificate. Okay. Thank you. Do you want to take Amy and Willis, Jessica, since you'll see them probably? We'll figure out who to send the Butler Advisory, Veterans Advisory. I would give it to Lynn if Lynn was here, but so anyway, great folks. They do good work for us. That's what I have. Oh, last, certainly not least, Shelby's birthday was on Saturday. So did you have a good day?
Are you serious? 49?
Did you have a good day?
I only feel like 53 or something. Yeah, it was all right.
Good. Well, happy birthday.
You got new shoes for this
They're
birthday?
shiny.
Oh, they're just shiny.
Not work
Didn't wear
shoes.
the same pair this time.
Did we have anybody? Next on the agenda is public comment. Did we have anyone sign up for public comment?
Not that we're aware of.
I don't see anyone here. Oh.
I don't know. I didn't get it.
I didn't either until just now.
So, okay. So Julie wants to speak for public comment. Is your microphone on or are you going to go to the podium?
I'd go to the podium.
Can do either. It doesn't matter to me.
I'd go to the podium.
How about if I just pretend I'm up there?
No, because I don't want there to be a misunderstanding that you're speaking as a trustee versus speaking as a
Oh,
citizen.
I'm definitely speaking as well. but Okay. Thanks. I think I'm missing the dissertation that you usually read regarding public comment. Do you
well,
want to
that's-
read that first?
Well, I suppose that's a good point.
Jennifer's got a copy of it.
Feed me the script.
I guess I've got it too.
Thank you. Okay, the general public is welcome to address the Board of Trustees under the public comment section of the regular board meeting agenda. Public comment should be germane to the business and activities of the Board of Trustees. Personnel issues are prohibited from public comment. The board chair will ask visitors wishing to make brief comments to identify themselves and the topic they wish to address. Have that. A time limit of 5 minutes has been set for each recognized member or spokesperson of the audience to speak to the board. The board will take no action during the public comment period of the board meetings. However, it will take the matter under deliberation and, if appropriate, direct the president to follow up with a written response and report at the next regular board meeting.
Ready?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay, can you give me a minute warning?
Sure.
Okay. I want to talk about the records that I've asked for in the past, and I don't want to go to the past, but I feel it's important to inform at least the new board members and the general public that there's a lot of times when I've asked for records, but I haven't received them in a timely manner, which has resulted in me actually filing a CORA. I did kind of avoid that for the first year I was on the board, but after that, by the way, my name's Julie Winslow and my PO box is 22 and I live in Rosehill. The 13 months is what I waited for the declarations page from the insurance policies. I know we have several, but we don't have so many, and that is considered a readily available record. But you know, I can remember when Hal was on the board as the president, I was asking for a digital copy of the packet and I was not getting it. And that's when we came out with the laptops and it's going to be on SharePoint. Well, what is SharePoint? It's a great software tool if you're looking at libraries because it's very detailed document management. Simply put, it allows all the documents you put on there to be delivered, accessed, stored, and shared to multiple users that have been assigned the appropriate tiers of permissions. So not everybody can get into every file. You have to have a direct access to it. It is also capable of extensive user tracking. Should you care to exercise these options, my IT training dictates I will not use SharePoint in any capacity for those reasons. Therefore, my BCC issued laptop was returned to Mr. Young. You know, we discussed in an open meeting, and of course, we had a whole bunch of nurses show up one day about an email that I got from a nursing student. I won't mention her name, and it was written to myself and Trustee Smith, explaining the really rough time she was having in Butler Community College, getting health exemption during the COVID vaccine. The thing is, yes, we revise it, and yes, there's a little thing on there that says, hey, if you're writing trustees at butlercc.edu, it's only going to go to the 3 people that hold offices, which I thought was dramatically nasty, but they did agree, the board majority did agree to put in the comment that says, if you want everybody to receive it, you'll have to put in the individual addresses for the other people that aren't in those 3 positions at the top, meaning the chair, the vice chair, and the secretary. But here's the thing that it doesn't say when you get on there. It doesn't say that the president of the college also gets that email. So if you're thinking it's going to be private to the trustees, it's not going to be. I'm a retired cost accountant, a site audit manager, and SAP implementation section manager, and I understand business very, very well. Even when Tom Bordenkircher came, the executive director of accreditation at HLC, when he came to talk, he actually stated to all of us that were present that a trustee has a right to look in every nook and cranny available for information if they want to. Although that Dr. Curl has stated multiple times at that point, numerous core requests plus the board's obvious inability to work cohesively could have a negative effect on future HLC evaluations. So I'm glad that we are going to do a mock one like was suggested by me a few months ago. There's one issue that's really pressing right now that I've not been able to discuss in public, but I want to do it now. Just a couple of months ago, I asked Dr. Kroll point blank about the high turnover in the campus police department. This came to me through a phone call, and I had heard through the grapevine that yet another chief had resigned, and I got nowhere. When I asked at the college and went through the proper channels, I got nowhere. So I finally I finally thought, you know what, I'm just going to call over there and ask for him, see if he's there. And I did. And of course, was it June? I got chastised by the board president that I can't call these people, and gee whiz, golly darn. 2 weeks ago, we get a nice article in the paper and we don't know anything about it. You know, here's my thing. I want transparency, and I want the board to be honest with each other, and I want the administration to be honest with us. I don't feel like that's happening a lot of times. There was a couple of opportunities that Dr. Kroll could have told us that we were having specific problems in the police department and did not. And that is very upsetting to me, and I see that as unethical. But that's just me. So I will try to limit my comments to all those that are already in force or already available and already in existence. If you want to change the board bylaws and policies, you know, think about it. You want us to trust you on how long it takes to get it. You want us to trust you on whether the information already existed, doesn't. I mean, this is just nothing more, in my opinion, than another attempt to control free speech. Thank you very much for listening.
Any other public comment? I will move on to standing reports. Is Lillian?
Yeah, Lillian is on. Yeah. Oh, there she is.
Hello.
Hi, Lillian.
Hi. Yeah, I'm home for fall break, so I asked to do this over Zoom. So can you hear me? Make sure my speaker's on. Ready?
We got you.
Yeah, we hear you.
We've got you.
So in the past month, SGA has held Paint Wars on September 15th. That went very well. We had a lot of students show up. We did go through the balloons very fast, but the fun kept going as we had extra tie-dye to do a slip and slide as well. We also did Fun Friday, which was bowling for September. And we had numerous students show up. We filled the entire bowling alley that night, and all of the lanes were full, and the students had a lot of fun at that. We also did a suicide depression awareness table where we partnered with Nancy Ham, and we had purchased the suicide awareness bracelets, and we gave them out at that table, as well as resources for people to contact and all of that. We did that at both El Dorado and Andover. And we also have held numerous voter registration tables where we partnered with the student, and he set up 2 sets of tables, September 20th and 22nd, and then as well as October 4th and 6th. And he has contacted us about wanting to do it again before the voter registration deadline is up. I do not remember what that day is, but he has talked to us and is going to do another round of voter registration tables to try and get the last bit of students in for that. We've actually had a lot of people register to vote with those tables, so that has been a great success. And coming up this week, we have the Fall Bash on Friday the 14th, where we'll have fun games, bonfires, and the students will be able to roast marshmallows and have fun. And then Saturday during the barbecue, we are going to have our parent family weekend celebration type thing, where we're going to bring out a bunch of games, a photo booth, things for the students to do with their families that came to do family parent weekend with them before they go to the football game. And for Fun Friday this month, we are going to do it on October 21st at Walter's Pumpkin Patch. And then we are also going to do a football field movie night at the BG Stadium on October 27th.
You're busy.
Yes, we are.
Sounds like fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Operational staff report. Is Lisa available? Not one this month. Okay. Dr. Sater here. Professional employees, no? Okay. Marie Martha or Linda, Board Finance Committee.
If you would turn to page 30 in your board book. We went through it. There were a couple of errors under 2023, under other expenditures. You'll see amounts for 79. Those should be taken off. And then also for auxiliary enterprise was 847. And just those are accounting errors, and those will be removed and taken off for next month. Questions? Yeah, zeroed it out.
Thanks, Marie Martha.
Thank you.
So we'll get a corrected one next month.
Oh, are you going to hold me to the fire?
New statement next month. Those two should be taken off.
They were just
Easier than-
coded. They were coded.
Yeah, they were coding errors.
Correctly.
Foundation Board report, the Foundation Board met last in August and we updated last month. So the next Foundation Board meeting will be in November. So I don't have a report right now. Dr. Kroll, President's report.
Yeah. I think I reported last month that I had gone to the Andover public, to the school board meeting, to thank them for their friendship and partnership over the years. On the 27th of September, I also went to the Andover City Council to do the same thing, to say thank you to them for the work that we've done in partnership together over the years, and have appreciated the work with the city staff on the culinary building and the 5,000 building and some of those different projects. Enrollment numbers came out, 20th day enrollment numbers came out, and it's important to remember those are just 20-day numbers. They're just the start. We're down about 4% in head count and FTE. The community colleges in general, there were a few community colleges that were up a little bit. There were 5 community colleges that had larger losses than we did, one that was pretty similar to ours, and then 6 that were in about the 0.3% to the 3% range. And then 5 or 6 that showed growth. The ones that showed growth, like Pratt and a couple of the ones that showed growth were programs where they have added additional curriculum programs, or like Pratt added flag football for women.
Isn't
So
that wonderful?
yeah,
I
well,
love it.
I'm not sure who they're playing, but anyway,
Yeah.
but we did.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
We
wouldn't it be
did
fun?
see, if we dig into our data, we did see some good increases in some areas. International headcount was up almost 30%, credit hours up almost 41%. And that's probably in part a direct relationship to the fact that we're charging in-state tuition now. And it's easier for international students to get visas and get here, outside of COVID restrictions. I'm sorry, out of state. I said
Yeah,
out of
yeah.
state, didn't I? I apologize, out of state. Thank you. Transfer student head count was up 9% and credit hours up 10%. Head count of older students who are older than 25 was up about 3%. Our Butler County High School enrollment was up 13.3%. Our enrollment at the correctional facility was up 500%, which is good. And there are, we're eligible now for Second Chance Pell. Those students are eligible for Second Chance Pell. We've got financial aid people out this week, I think, or next week, helping them fill out. But we've got a significant number of students out there that are eligible for Second Chance Pell. And we will be, in the process of getting them enrolled. So we'll see some real benefit to that probably in place by spring semester, I think, if we can get the Department of Corrections to get the things done on their end.
What's the difference between first chance and second chance Pell?
Well, Second Chance is only available for
Bless you.
incarcerated. It was a program specifically for
Perfect.
incarcerated
Thank you.
persons. We saw some majors, a number of majors, just a few that saw an increase in headcount. Cybersecurity is up 50%. That's all online now, so very accessible. Early childhood education was up almost 12%. Secondary ed up 14%. Our elementary education and our best program partnership with ESU was up 7%. Criminal justice up 16%. Pre-computer science up 29%. We always have a little bit of flux between day 1 and day 20. This year we had about a 1% loss in students, which is a little bit less than we've seen. Sometimes we average about 2%. So we had better retention between day 1 and day 20. So we saw some pockets of good enrollment increase that are indicative, I think, of work that's being done that doesn't show up necessarily in the 20-day numbers. I can tell you, and ESOM can validate this, the K-Board doesn't even like the 20-day numbers because they are not reflective of where you are except at the 20th day. So end of semester numbers and annual numbers are the ones that are impactful. We also know that in the 20-day numbers that there are some errors in some of those, not necessarily from Butler because our IR folks do a great job, but some of the other institutions have had some struggles getting the correct numbers submitted.
So when's the final day?
Well, the end of the semester is when we
Is that when
do-
you're,
that's
your
we do
count?
a final count at the end of the semester, and then we do a final validation certification at the end of the year,
academic year?
academic year. Okay. Come to the microphone, Esam, will you, please?
This will be pretty important for folks here that one of the good things that we saw from last fall to this fall, the number of Butler County new students who came in, that went up by about 25%.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big deal, I think.
The technical college enrollment overall shows increases, but their student numbers are smaller. So if you know how to calculate percent change, if you've got a small number to start off with and you add even just a few students, your percent change is going to be larger than if you start out with a bigger denominator or bigger starting number. But Flint Hills, for example, with the technical colleges showed the largest enrollment, I think, of all of the technical colleges and maybe all the community colleges too. Theirs was significant, but about 75% of their student population are high school students. And so their increase in enrollment came from additional high school student enrollment in Excel and CTE programs and the technical areas. Universities lost some enrollment, but again, their enrollment gets spread out over 6 years. They're looking at their student enrollment numbers over 4 years of bachelor's and graduate programs, where the community and technical colleges, have essentially 2 years. And the thing with the technical colleges also is that a lot of the programs that they offer are very cohort based. They're very prescriptive degree programs with not as much flexibility maybe in the way that they start and they finish. So they're pretty defined pathways, and we have those as well. But we've got probably ESOM 60% of our students are part-time students now. So then that's pretty typical of community colleges. They're coming and going, they're starting and stopping. And so a lot of those students are part of that flux that we see coming and going. So we'll keep you posted as we go along. But we had some really good, we were excited to see some of these areas that showed good increases because they were areas of focus for us this year. So
I have a quick question. How are we doing with that construction?
Microphone, Julie.
How are we doing with that construction program in?
Well, I don't know. Let's see.
I don't know how many are enrolled, if there are any high school students enrolled at Rose Hill.
Is there anybody enrolled?
Yeah.
Could I have a copy of those? Just so I can throw it in my notebook or
A
in the board book?
copy of the increases.
I'll
Yeah,
try to make shorthand of my
Oh.
writing.
I will. I'll email it to you.
All right. Sometimes later I'm like, I don't know what that word is.
Oh, I do have a couple of other things.
go right
Sorry
ahead.
about that.
The
I
floor
got
is
caught
yours.
up in this. I wanted to tell you that yesterday was fall break day, so college was closed. Today's what we call institutional development days. It's one of our twice a year all college in-service days. We do one in the spring and we do one in October in the fall. And it's really a neat day for all of our folks to be on campus together. We did a general opening session this morning, and then starting at 10, we had breakout sessions from 10 to 10:50, from 11 to 11:50, and then from 1 to 2 this afternoon. Employees could choose from anywhere between probably 12 to 15 different sessions in each one of those, and some of them are duplicated during the different times. But it's a great opportunity for our folks to learn new things and to learn from their colleagues, or to be updated on some different kinds of things. And so after 2 o'clock, and a lot of the departments and divisions had their departmental meetings and specific committee meetings. There was also a group of folks this morning that, instead of joining the breakout sessions, toured El Dorado Correctional Facility. I think there were, I don't know how many people were out there, 20 or so, I think maybe, went to correctional facility for the morning sessions. The instrumental concert instrumental concert was last week. It was great. Vocal concerts this week. If you want tickets, you need to get them because they'll sell out. So we're excited that we're back in, in the theater and able to engage with the students and let them perform for us. And I just wanted to give you one other little update, just as an example of how engaged our folks are in the community, and not just, athletes involved, but a lot of the other groups of people are involved as well. This past, it would have been the 30th of September, just our drum line. This is just what the drum line's been doing in the last couple of weeks. Friday afternoon on September 30th, the drum line marched in the fall homecoming parade for El Dorado High School. After this, they stopped for an early dinner and then headed to Flint Hills High School to play with their 6th through 12th grade band at the home football game. Our students performed with theirs during the game, and then the drum line was the featured field performance at halftime of the game. And then the drum line met in Douglas the next morning to perform for the Frontier Day parade. They also marched in the Augusta High School homecoming parade on October 7th. So that's just what the drum line is doing. Those kinds of things are impactful, especially in the fine arts, because COVID had such an incredible negative impact on fine arts, because nobody could perform and they couldn't be together necessarily. But those are the kinds of things that our folks are doing to reach out to area high schools and our area partners to re-engage those students and recruit them and get them excited about coming to Butler. So just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you.
Tom, for putting that together.
Thanks, Dr. Kroll. Next, Education Facilities Authority report. Dave or Mary Martha?
No meeting. We haven't met since September.
Isn't there
Maybe
one coming
tomorrow.
up?
I think there's one tomorrow.
I didn't get anything from Melissa.
Maybe. I mean, I had an email from her today, so I don't know if she's sent out an agenda or not.
Well, I tell you what, I won't be able to go tomorrow. Will you, Dr. Kroll?
Yes, if we have one, I'll be there.
Melissa sent it out. Melissa Smith. I don't have anything.
This is riveting.
Okay, maybe,
Mary.
okay, we maybe don't have.
What'd you say?
This is riveting.
Sorry. Next up is the monitoring report.
I didn't have anything.
Nations of advancement. Tom.
You received the report, and I'm available for any questions you might have concerning the report. Yes, Mary Martha.
I only had one, and I'm sure it's just something that I don't know anything about, but on page 4, you have listed the foundation board of directors, and there's an asterisk by Eric Bird. What does that mean?
That means he's a new member.
Oh, okay.
It's had it right up above,
Where?
just right up above. It said
Oh,
added 3
perfect.
new board members, and then I had the asterisk.
Thank
was
you
just-
so much.
You're welcome. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom, for putting this together.
I just had one more comment.
Yes, Martha.
Life enrichment. So you guys are in charge of that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Great
Yes.
job.
Trisha Walls is the one who organizes that and maintains that for us.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wonderful program.
What were the attendance numbers for the offer that came in for the Killers of the Flower Moon? It looked like a full crowd.
It
but
was probably 3/4 full, if not a little bit more.
Ireland, what I heard was was 375 people there. I think there weren't quite 400 people there for the David Grand for Killers of the Flower Moon.
It still looked full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could have listened to him all night.
Just a comment about the life enrichment. This is another program that was impacted because of COVID.
Yeah.
And those folks are starting to come back. The thing that's fun about life enrichment is that you see groups of folks coming together. There's a group of ladies that come from Augusta that always sit together and always come to life enrichment. And so you start to see folks that, that really look forward to those programs. And I always laugh the morning of life enrichment because I think it starts usually at 9. And we start to see people parking and coming into the building about 8:15. So it's a really important social event for them, and they enjoy seeing each other and getting together early for coffee and rolls or whatever Trish has for them. But it's a great and it's open to anybody. It's open to anybody to come.
Thank you. Moving on to our strategic discussion items. First up is an update on we've been calling it VKD, although I guess it's 4Viz now. They've rebranded, but their software program. Is that Tom or Kent?
Yeah, so I put the update in the booklet here. It's on page 8. Since I submitted that topic for discussion, we have scheduled a meeting with David Armstrong, who's the partner in charge, our chief liaison with Forbes, and Lucas Frank, who is our technical person with Forbes. And that meeting will be later this week. They'll go through the timeline for gathering this year's information for the PEA part of that. And they'll also go through the athletic data that we're going to be inputting and the overhead data that we'll be inputting. And yeah, go from there. Any questions?
Have you guys been able to, are you using it yet? Are you able to find out things that are, what have you learned so far? Or are you still?
Yeah, I think I'll let Tom answer that because it is being used most by the academic deans.
Yeah, I think, from a historical analysis and baseline, I think it's been very helpful for us to establish those benchmarks. And then, those decisions that we're making now, as we go back and we do these annual audits, then we'll be able to kind of see if the decisions we're making now, that will basically tell us if, financially where we made those decisions, if they were effective or not.
Yeah, I would say, I think Tom's group is also doing a really good job of looking at some ways to incorporate more current data as they look at, and I don't know all the technical aspects of it, but dealing with class size and, course information. And I think they're doing a good job with that. So it's sort of complementary.
Yeah, that really helped us kind of make sure we're using the same type of information. That way, whenever we do these audits, it kind of aligns with what we're doing now. And then that just kind of confirms that this Forbes analysis helps us really confirm, in the future, the decisions we're making now.
Well, if the board wants to, at some point in the future, I'd like to look at some of the stuff and see enrollment and attendance and when the sports are going, just so we know as a board the data as well. And I would really appreciate if we can look at it in real time or, a month or two from now and find out what we were learning as we go. And not form another committee to, have it be.
Well, so this
study.
this particular data won't do it in real time.
I understand,
Yeah.
but I would like to see the data myself, so I can ask informed questions.
Sure.
That's what Thank you. Nothing else? Okay, we'll move on to a discussion about the villas.
Villas.
Control.
The villas are the apartment complex that are catty corner from campus at the corner of Haverhill and Towanda. They were built in 2011, and at that point in time when they were built, there was a requirement, a recital within that agreement that we had to guarantee a certain percentage of occupancy in that building because it was housing for only Butler Community College students. And when the villas were sold then in 2017 from sold by Oxbow to T-Town LLC, that occupancy requirement or guarantee had gone away. That recital had gone away. But one of the things that was retained in that 2017 agreement was that we as a college would agree not to expand on campus or build any other housing or significantly renovate anything on campus that would increase the number of beds through August 10th of 2022. Well, the owners of the villas now came to visit on the 28th, and they are getting ready to sell the villas. They have holdings on university campuses. This was their only community college apartment complex, and they wish to sell the villas. And so they've come to us to see if there's any interest from the board, to purchase first before they put it on the market and list it publicly. I told them that I would visit with you folks just a little bit about it to see if there's any interest and get back to them. They kind of indicated that, that they would potentially be willing to work on a purchase price for us. But I can tell you that the occupancy over there, even with Butler students this fall, has been 70%. 70%. Our housing's full. We have Butler students living all over town in different apartment complexes and in individual homes and stuff. And just in conversation over time with facilities crew and, and folks around here, I think the administration believes that it might, if we wanted to make an investment in upgrading housing, our first choice probably would be to do the housing that we have on campus. That building is a wood frame, all wood frame and drywall construction. And so it's, the villas are, not ours. Ours are all cement block and cement, right? Ireland. So I told them that I would come to see if there was any interest. If there is, then this is a topic for discussion in executive session. It's one of the exclusions for executive session. If we want more detail on, the details of potentially purchasing and what that might look like, we could talk about that in executive session. But I just need kind of a flavor from you folks tonight to turn around and get back in touch with the owners to let them know if there's any interest at all in purchasing the villas.
Did they give us a ballpark of what the starting point?
They sort of just in general said, oh, maybe about $5.8 million is where they would start. But if the college was interested, that, maybe there'd be a little bit lower price. What do you think?
I think it's impossible to know if that's a good price or not without seeing all their data. with regard
Amen.
to it. I mean, that number means nothing, even if you know the number of units. And there's a lot more that goes into that. So
How many beds are over there, Bill?
192.
192. Ireland's aware, and Ireland can speak to this if you'll give him the floor for us. I know that he's aware of some of the construction issues and some of the repair issues that have been made over there over time. So
Well, I do know that right now we have a carpenter who used to work over there, and he said it took 2 full-time employees just to maintain it all the time. It is wood construction with drywall, which would be a maintenance nightmare. Compared to block. Yeah.
Good on.
I agree with that. But, there has been some issues with the floor trusses. They had to go in and replace some floor trusses in there because they had too many people in one room partying over one weekend. So my recommendation is I would not like it, but you're the board, you guys make those decisions. So.
Is there a general level of interest of wanting to know more? I mean, even with a 5.8 million starting price, even if we're talking about a discount, we're still talking about a pretty tremendous investment. Is that of interest to enough people that we want to go further, or can we safely say that that's not of interest and then we just put it to bed right now and they can put it on the market and do what they want to with it? I mean, we're not holding them up. They're just kind of giving us the first option.
Are these all sorry, Julie.
2 and 3, I
Gotcha.
think.
2 and
Is that
3.
right, Ireland? 2 and 3 bedroom units?
4 bedrooms.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so it's
There's 4
basically,
bedrooms, each bedroom has its own bath. The 4-bedroom units have a common living space with kitchen. The 2-bedroom units are the same with their own bathroom that are attached to the bedroom. Common living space.
so what's the college's intent in the near or long term as far as building more housing or needing more space?
I would say that if we, I don't know that if we owned the villas, we would be able to fill them. We don't have a waiting list of 192 students each fall semester. We have a waiting list, but it's not that large. I don't anticipate that we would be able to fill that building with just Butler students. And so I'm not sure that financially it would be a good investment for us.
Can you remind me where this is on campus?
It's catty corner from campus, just right over there. It's the multi-story buildings that
It's
are
the-
just where the stoplight is. The corner over there.
complex
Next to the football stadium.
Yeah.
Okay, but we don't own it,
No, we don't.
but we patrol it.
Not any longer.
We have a memorandum of understanding with the El Dorado Police Department that if a 911 call comes in, that the college PD can respond to it because of our proximity to the village. We drive through the parking lot. We do not walk through the building. And we're
I
out
just
on
want to know
patrol
about how
for
many
what-
resources we dedicate to that from the police department. You know, do we normally have a couple of officers dedicated to apartment structures and
No.
how?
We have, I mean, when we go out, when our officers go out to check the ag facility and then go up and check, drive by the fire science facility, they'll come back through and drive through the parking lot of the village just for a presence, but that's it. If we got a 911 call, we would respond, but if it was a major issue, El Dorado PD would take the lead on it once their officers arrive.
Now, is that true of all of our facilities or just the villas that we don't own?
In terms of
Other dorms?
our officers walk through our residence halls
Okay.
here on campus.
So they respond first?
Right, well, this campus is our responsibility. It's our jurisdiction with our police department. El Dorado will respond to our residence halls if we call for backup. But to my knowledge, that has never happened.
On the 70% occupancy in that building now, do we know how many of them are Butler?
I think all but
Students.
4 residents are Butler students.
Okay,
It's the agreement currently identifies that it's only open for Butler students. It's supposed to be used for only Butler students. And that's probably partly why it's not full,
right.
because it's not open to the public.
Allowed to, 'cause it just surprises me that it's only 70%. I mean, historically, right now, multifamily is booming. and doing very well in the market with high occupancy and increasing rents. So if the college were to buy it, is there a restriction within the college to where you couldn't have tenants that are outside of, that aren't college students? Is that allowed?
I would say that because it's college-owned property, it's college-owned property, and so it's going to fall underneath our policies and our safety and security, our student code of conduct, all those kinds of things. We would not be able to have outside residents living in it, I wouldn't think, if we were going to follow our established college policies and procedures.
It would be a nightmare to police, to regulate the
Right.
behavior of people that were not students.
Yeah, well, I don't think you would be responsible for the behavior of them, but how they impact your students obviously would play into that. So that's,
There could be some tax,
Well-
tax exempt implications of that as well.
yeah,
It,
Now
it would come off the tax
We'd be
rolls.
competing in the market.
right. So the only
We don't
way-
own any of it. We don't own any of it.
Except the land.
No, we don't own the
No,
land.
no,
We don't own any of it.
So
We just
That
guarantee,
land was sold by the American Legion.
we guaranteed a certain occupancy rate in order to entice the initial building of it. And that guarantee is now done. Yes, sir. Shelley.
So would, you guys have told us the rent rates before now, aren't you? Is it around $300 per bedroom per
It's
month?
around $500 per bedroom.
Okay, so. Just. so
But
you
we
got
don't know what the unit
500
mix is.
Times 140, which is a 70% rent rate. And if you're there 9 months a year, bring in about 630 grand a year in income. Just a quick ballpark. So I don't know if that'd be worth.
is that per bedroom or that you did the 500?
500 per bedroom
70%.
times 140 bedrooms times only 9 months because they're not gonna be there all the time.
And 70%.
But it's 630,000 a year and all the headache for the 5.8.
And that's not counting the expenses of patrolling it
Right,
and
right, right.
staffing it. and
I wouldn't
Yeah.
mind seeing some numbers, but I don't have.
You
the
would,
Yeah,
if we purchased that building, we would need an on-site director in that building 24 hours a day, probably. We would have to have residence assistants on each floor like we do our regular residence halls. And so you are talking about increased staffing, talking about utility costs, talking about yard maintenance and parking lot maintenance, as well as internal repairs and
There would
maintenance.
Need to be a significant increase in the closed circuit TV system. Because we made recommendations at the time it was built that were not followed. And they've got cameras on the entrances, but there's nothing in the hallways or in areas where I'd want to see, especially if you're having damages, so that you could kind of track who's done what, so that you could hold them responsible for repairs.
Yeah, I mean, the purchase price would need to be reflective of what the occupancy has been and the income streams and the expenses and all that kind of stuff. Who knows if they'll actually, I doubt they'll sell it for that just because they know if Butler's out of the picture and they can go lease it up to regular occupants, they could probably get more for it. But my biggest, I'm kind of like Shelby, I don't have a ton of interest in it other than if a year or two from now, we're going to get told, hey, we need to build $10 million in dorms that are also going to require the same staffing and the same maintenance and all the things which is the path of least resistance. And doesn't hurt to look at the numbers just to make sure we aren't passing up something that could,
I'd like to see those numbers too,
Yeah.
just for that reason.
probably not
I would,
going to happen, but probably not going to be a good idea, but I don't think it hurts to look at the numbers.
I think what bothers me more than anything is not that we might miss a deal, but that what's gonna happen to that property? Who's
good
gonna
point.
fill it? And that's a close proximity to
Good
our
point.
student population. And that's a worry for me.
But the West Dorm needs much improvement. I think we need to think about that.
Exactly, which, what kind of caliber of renters are we going to have in that location right here by the campus?
Well, you've got apartments that are just across the street from the football stadium that we don't have any control over, that we're not worried about.
Right.
Our
It's in the
students live at
landlords.
they live in Walnut River down on the south end of town. They live in apartments all over town and we don't have any control over who their roommates are or who their neighbors are.
I'm only worried about the ones close right here.
Well, my point is we have other apartments that are just as close as the villas and we're not concerned about those. I don't.
One
there
of
a
the things
pool
that I think that would keeps the general public from renting those rooms is if you have to, for a family, if you wanted to reserve, if you needed 2 bedrooms it would cost you basically $1,100.
Yeah,
For-
because are they basing it just on what the community college pays, or, you know, what the rents are for students?
They're trying to look at it from a student's perspective, that they would pay $550 a month for rent for a single bedroom apartment
Right,
with a kitchenette, knowing that you're going to have a roommate.
right.
Whether you get along with that roommate or not, that's another issue. So if you needed 4 bedrooms, that would be almost $2,000 because of
And a
each
family's not
bedroom and
gonna
that kind
pay
of thing.
that.
And it doesn't work for families.
Yeah, that would,
Bill, do you know, does the rent over there, are some utilities included? I mean, is the landlord paying the cost of some of those utilities?
I think everything's included. I think the rent includes electric, cable, internet, and trash and water.
see, that's
That
huge.
changes the
That's,
cash flow.
yeah, that's-
tremendously.
well,
Is
yeah,
there a
that-
pool over there?
No,
Were you thinking about moving in?
they talked about putting one in. They put in a sand volleyball court instead,
I think
which is gone now, I think.
uh-huh.
this isn't an action item at this point. The question is there interest in asking Dr. Kroll's staff to get more information? And I get the sense there's not, but
I get the sense that there is. I've
Yeah.
very much said it makes sense
not
to
with
look
all
at the information.
with the utility. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought when he talked about all the costs and Shelby's comments about the cash flow, that made it look even worse.
I wouldn't mind seeing the numbers, if it's not hard to just say, hey, send us.
Yeah, I think it's something that can be looked at in 5 minutes to make sense.
I mean,
See if it-
if they're happy to send it, it doesn't take Dr. Crowe a long time to request. it.
Yeah, and if they're gonna give vague information and, you know, or there's any kind
They're
of
gonna give
hassle,
it
it's
to a
not worth
realtor
it.
anyway.
Yeah, if they want to sell it, they're gonna give thorough data.
Sure.
Just don't think.
Well,
it hurts to look at
let's
it.
let's be specific then. What information do we want Dr. Kroll to ask for?
Their cash flow, their profit and loss, what their occupancy has been, what they're basing on, what utilities they're paying, their maintenance. I mean, just what their NOI is every year. Net operating income.
Yeah, what she said.
Um,
I know that.
I know their intent is to move quickly on this to try and get it listed. So
They'll have all that.
I'll try and
information,
get-
They
right?
probably
Yeah,
already
they're
have all
gonna
that.
be, it had to be readily.
you would
I'll
assume
try and have it
no
available.
commercial buyer is gonna. walk
Right, yeah,
into it.
nobody's, yeah.
Here, that's-
try and have it for the work session.
Okay, we'll move on to our board action items. The first one is a follow-up from last month, the sound system replacement. Dr. Neville.
Okay, yeah, so last week we kind of gave you a heads up that we were going to be hopefully shopping around for updating the sound system in the auditorium. So we did solicit some bids from Heartland and from McClelland, and we are hoping to get your approval today to move forward with purchasing this equipment so we can get it installed and we can get using it.
I had a question for you.
Yes.
On the McClellan bid, would that also include the tear out and all off? It wasn't specific in there, didn't specifically state it said turnkey, which I assume they would take out the existing and replace it.
Yeah.
My concern is the McClellan is in Wichita. The other guys are from Kansas City, Missouri.
Heartland's in Wichita.
Heartland is?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
never mind then. All right, well, I Googled them and they were. Kansas City,
Well, it
Missouri.
says it right here on the upper left-hand side.
Well, I know, but I.
Heartland also
I
did all the,
Google, and
they did all the AV for this facility
Okay,
as well,
okay.
so
Well,
they're
then never
familiar
mind.
with Butler.
How about if I move to approve the purchase of the sound system for $40,401.05?
Second,
And to clarify then, Dave, your motion is to approve the bid from Heartland.
Yes.
Any other discussion?
Yes, I would like to know if this is on any plan. Is this on any deferred maintenance?
It was not because it just stopped working and that's something you don't really plan for is a sound system to stop working and at this point we're either having to rent or go without.
Yeah, I didn't understand that it stopped. I guess it's old, 30.
Been around for a while. Longer than Bill.
That's really long time.
95 years.
Any other discussion?
We can talk about it because in here. Oh, you mean Bill.
Okay, hearing none.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes.
Yes.
Trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shear,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
Yes. That,
Thank you.
I think that passes 7-0. Next action item is follow-up from Dr. Kroll on the capital plan for the ball fields.
Thank you. We've talked about this plan a couple of different times. You have the information in front of you again that we looked at the last board meeting. If the board would choose to work with the city to make improvements to the softball field, the north field at East Park, our portion of that commitment would be $96,000 to do the East Park concession and a portion of the East Park concession and restroom stand, and then some shade structures. Our portion of the improvements at McDonald's Stadium would be which is where our baseball team plays, again, city-owned property, would be $168,000 for a total of those renovation costs of $264,000. The city's writing the RFP, as I have noted for you. They're adding as part of that RFP an alternate that the folks that submit bids can bid on for the construction of a Butler softball locker room at East Park as well. That would be located next to the concession and restroom facilities. So water's there, electricity is there. We would bear the cost of that facility. We don't know the total dollar amount because we won't know until the bids come in, of course, but estimated to be around $200,000 to construct that locker room. That would be our sole cost. So you would be looking at, if you approve this, you would be looking at a total cost if you do the improvements to East Park and McDonald's Stadium at $264,000, and then $200,000 on top of that would be a total of $464,000. You had asked for a breakdown of what lease costs would be. The city is really willing to work with the college in any way that is needed for financing or for payment. On the bottom of page 16, you can see where what the lease costs would be over a 3-year time frame, or 5 or 7 or 10-year time frame. What wasn't included in this that I emailed to you in my board update were the annual then maintenance costs too. The city is going to maintain those fields, mow, fertilize, overseed, those kinds of things, weed killer, and we would then be responsible for paying the city staff for, maintenance through, again, a lease agreement. But what we are recommending is that we move forward with the improvements to East Park and McDonald's Stadium and the construction of the softball locker room. There's money in the capital project designated fund. That fund has been in place, reserve fund has been in place for a number of years. It has had money transferred over into it. Again, kind of in past years when we've done different projects and we've had money in contingencies left over or something like that, or we've had money left over at the end of the year, we may have transferred some money into that account. I think there's $1 million. What is there, Kent, in that fund right now? $1.1 million. Yeah, and it was in your budget update book. It's one of those funds that's in the budget update. So there's funds available to pay for this up front. But if the board would choose to pay for it over time, those payments would still come out of that designated fund. What questions can I answer for you?
I kind of would rather leave that cost of the building out just till we know what it's going to cost. I mean, I know we have bids out, we have an approximation, but we're in kind of a volatile construction time. So that would be my preference, but I'm only one member of the board. So.
Okay. And we'll know when the RFP comes back, when the bids come back to the city for that.
Is it an option to approve the sharing of the costs on the fields and defer until next month the approval of the separate locker room?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I don't know when the bids are expected back at the city. I know they, when David, when we met a couple of weeks ago, they were writing the RFP. I think they were close to the point where they were gonna let the RFP, but I don't know those dates and that timeline for sure, but I can find that out from David.
And
Sure.
then
Yeah, you can.
Secondly, just wanted to refresh my memory. I think you had a piece of paper that showed the percentage the Butler would be using it versus a percentage of what El Dorado would be using it versus the school district.
The north field at East Park would be strictly Butler's field. McDonald Stadium, the percentage breakdown is in your board book. The percentage breakdown for the cost is based on usage for the most part. I don't know what the difference is between Butler and the school district for McDonald, but the East Park would pretty much exclusively be the north field would be Butler's field.
Is that gonna be in the contract?
It's current, yeah, it would be in the lease agreement that we would write with the city.
That we would be exclusive?
That's the intent. That's why the city has come to us with this plan as part of the financing, is because they want us to have for 10 years, they proposed a 10-year lease at least, that we would have exclusive use of that north field. If we built the locker room there, it would be only a Butler locker room, just like the locker room is at McDonald Stadium. It's
For
only
10 years.
the initial lease agreement would be for 10 years. And I'm sure that there'll be clauses for renewal, as typical of lots of lease agreements. That was the city's plan when they came to us, was to try and engage in a long-term lease agreement with the college to assist with improvements at the parks, at those ball fields, because we use them. If you don't want to, then our annual lease options are at the bottom of page 16. That's what we'll pay on an annual basis to play on those fields. Because we don't have our own softball or baseball fields. We don't have access to them except through city property. So if you don't want to do this, then, and we went into a 3-year lease agreement, we would pay the city $90,000 a year for 3 years to be able to play on the fields.
So I'll make the motion
Well,
to,
wait, I want to discuss it some more.
We can
Kim,
still.
we can discuss after a
Kim, do you
motion.
have anything to say about
Go
these
ahead.
numbers?
Dave, go ahead, Mike.
Okay, I move that we approve proposed expenditures for improvements to East Park, McDonald Stadium, and the construction of a Butler softball locker room at East Park.
We have a second.
I second.
Okay. Discussion.
Well, my only question was on the lease options. I guess I took that to read, you pay the 264 upfront now, or you pay it over 3 years at 1.25%. And then does that mean you still have the exclusive use for 10 years? Or are you paying that 88,000 a year every year for 10 years?
No,
Because
if we would decide to do a 3-year payment plan, we would pay that amount for 3 years.
Right.
And I don't know beyond that. I mean, we wouldn't pay the $90,000 a year beyond that. There would be the 10-year agreement in place that we would be able to use. What we would end up having to pay then would be the annual maintenance costs for mowing and fertilizing and
So
and
we're
that sort
not
of
going to
stuff.
get charged a maintenance cost or anything if we pay. the
That's not included in
264.
here.
Right, but is that in addition to the 264, regardless
There-
of whether or not you pay it now or upfront?
There would be some, yes, because we're not maintaining those fields. The city staff is doing that. So we would have to pay them an annual.
Right, so 88,000 a year is not a lease amount that you pay every year. That is taking your 264 and paying it over 3 years for the 10-year plan.
That's correct.
okay,
That's
not
so
what
the
we
city
said.
can recoup the cost of those construction costs. Yes.
I am with Julie on this, on the voting for the locker room separately, only because I just don't think you tell the public what you're willing to pay for a locker room and then expect bids. I feel like you get the bids.
I'll be about 200,000.
Yeah, exactly. Magically, they're all going to be 200,000 and not compete with each other. I mean, even if you want to build it, I think you don't approve an amount. You see what the bids come out at. And as for the 264 being paid up front now or over the course of, 3 years even, any loan at 1.25% in this market is a heck of a good deal. I don't see that as being a bad thing. But it goes back to the same thing I was talking about with the Butler building, is whether or not you're going to use that, if that money's going to grow at a different rate than what the city's charging us. So I'm fine with the 264. I don't really care at what rate it gets paid out. Any of these payment options seem very fair to me, or if the money's there, then go ahead and pay it up front. But I think voting to approve the expense for the locker room before we have bids is irresponsible.
Thank you.
That's the motion on the table.
Yeah, and I know what my vote is.
Well, is there interest in moving to amend the motion?
Yeah, I would,
Carve that motion down to just the 264 and not include any cost of the.
I would just like to make one comment for you. This is what I've asked for since we got here. I'd like to see all the data, all the sports programs, find out what our revenues are, what do we generate. I'm going into this vote blind. I don't know what softball, baseball generate. I don't know our attendance. I don't know our ticket sales. I have no revenue information. I'm just saying, here's $500,000. We love softball and baseball, but this is not a good business-based decision for me because I have no data. So I can't vote for it either way.
You have 24 students who are full-time students.
That doesn't mean anything. They're on
Not
scholarship.
counting.
They're on scholarship. Does
But
that
they're
bring
still
us into
paying.
revenue?
They're still paying
How
some.
much?
I don't know. I know they're paying rent.
Is it worth
Rent
$400,000?
downtown and
Is it
paying
worth,
for.
is it worth $500,000 though?
Oh,
Well,
I think so.
Well, I think part of that, we're not deciding tonight whether we're keeping or disbanding.
No, I get it. I'm just saying I
program.
can't, that's why I can't vote for this because I have no data. to
And we
justify
can't
my-
continue the program without having a field to play on. So
I understand.
is there interest in amending the motion on the floor?
Mr. Chairman, I would amend the motion to not include the locker room in the initial bid.
We have a second to that amendment.
I would second that.
We need to vote on, we need to
Vote on the amendment.
vote on the motion to amend.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes.
Yes.
Trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shear,
I'm gonna vote no.
trustee Smith.
Yes.
Okay, that motion to amend passes 6-1. So now we still have a motion on the floor. The motion on the floor now is do we approve the proposal to expend,
260.
thank you, 264,000 for our share of the renovations to the softball field and the baseball field.
No locker room.
No locker room at this point.
Look, can we specify from the capital fund?
That's what's in here.
We can't, I don't know that we have to, but we can.
You know,
That
I
wasn't
think
part of
I'd
the
like
motion,
this.
but I think that's,
And this is to pay it up front, right? The 264.
Out of
all-
that fund, I
out
think I'd feel better with that, even if, unless you think it'd be more beneficial to borrow money.
Well, unless you're gonna reinvest it at a higher rate, I don't see the point, but I wish I could get
Wouldn't make it much,
1.25.
but I mean, if your pension pennies.
Yeah.
any other discussion? Okay, so let's call the vote on the,
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes.
yes,
Trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shear,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
No.
okay, the
I-
motion passes 6-1.
I will let David Dillner know and explain to him that we want to wait. The board wants to wait on the RFP and the bids that come back to decide about the locker room. It will make sense. I can tell you that it will make the most sense if the board does decide to build a locker room to be able to do it at the time that they're doing the concession and restroom facility. Because they'll be pouring the cement slab and they'll be wiring and, running water. And their time frame again to get that completed is early spring.
They want to start February.
Yeah. So I'll keep you informed. I'll let you know.
And I guess my only comment to that would be, I would like in the future for it to be more well prepared to where we have these numbers before we vote, so that it doesn't delay, because I hear what you're saying. If we start now, we don't do everything and it's going to cost more in the long run. Well, let's just not bring it until we have what we need.
We don't have a choice. It's the
This
city's
is
project.
city.
It's city
Product.
We can't
project. They're
control
doing it with
this.
sales tax
Well,
money.
they need to tell them if they want any help, I guess, better numbers.
That's not our place to do.
That's,
it.
yeah.
Shelby, yes.
And it's just a locker room only, no restroom, just a facility
Yes,
for them to
showers.
change clothes.
It's gonna be a restroom.
Or no.
There's,
no
there's gonna
showers.
be,
I would assume it would have showers. I
I
don't.
thought we went over before, there were no showers.
the way I understand, there's restroom facilities and like sinks and stuff like that. But I didn't think showers. It's just a place where the kids can change their clothes and have privacy.
Yeah, because it wasn't it gonna be in a locker, some kind of storage container? Isn't that what?
That's one of the options.
That was one
I
of
was
the
just asking.
options.
to clarify.
Okay.
I don't believe there were showers there.
That-
Scheduled to be.
I don't recall. Okay. I guess we'll come back on the locker room issue once we have more information from the city.
Yeah.
Next item on the action agenda is a follow-up on board policies. I know there was some discussion on these during the September work session. I don't think we don't have to vote to not make changes, and my understanding is we didn't believe any changes were necessary to the philosophy of compensation policy. Shelby, I believe you suggested some changes to the professional development policy, which are reflected on the lower half of page 17.
I'm fine with that.
Would entertain a motion to approve that policy as amended.
I would recommend to approve the changes to professional development policy.
Second,
Any discussion on those?
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
yes.
trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shear,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
Yes.
I keep saying my understanding because I wasn't able to make that work session. My understanding is there was some discussion about the information request policy, but it's not been proposed to be adopted. We have procedures in our code of conduct, and there's existing policies that govern information requests by board members. So unless we choose to change those, I don't think we have an action item pending on that.
Yeah, the one I looked at it, because I didn't like the way it was written, and I started trying to rewrite it, and I made some phone calls, and at the end of the day, it's like, I don't want to limit the ability of us to get information, and we do have a policy as already written. I emailed everyone. If the board chooses to vote to not provide a data dump or whatever, we can make that vote, so. I personally don't see the change that needs to be there, but
I'm
up to you, up to everybody else, yeah, so. But it's not on here anyway tonight, so it's okay.
I think before the next work session, we'll solicit input on. I mean, one of the things that came out of our retreat was a sense that we wanted a comprehensive review of all our policies. It takes someone to suggest a change in order for that to happen. So if we don't have any other suggested changes, then I think we've done the review that we committed to doing during that retreat. But if people have changes, then bring them up and we'll do it at the next work session.
Are we limited to that particular policy? Because,
No, we talked about all the policies, but
Okay,
nobody
'cause-
suggested changes to anything other than those two.
Yeah, I did have one to add, but I can email that.
Okay.
It would
I-
clarify just one issue.
Yeah, I would suggest, just so we can make sure it would be helpful if we can get information back out to people before the work session, so you have time to look at it. So if you've got some suggested changes or, policy stuff that you want reviewed, why don't you send that to Jennifer and me? Let me look at the calendar here. I don't know what the dates are. Our work session would be on the 24th. So why don't you send that information to us by, let's say, the 19th, which is a week from tomorrow. And then we can get it sent back out. Okay.
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
If you have policy changes that you want to suggest, or, information that we want to review related to policies, why don't you send that to us by the 19th?
Okay.
And we'll put it all together and get it sent back out. So you have a little bit of time to look at it before the work session on the 24th. If you want more time to review it, then we're going to need that information sooner in our office. But
Is there a place online on the website we can go and review policies? Are they listed there?
I think I've emailed all of them to you in the past, but we can send them to you again. So that they're kind of front and center for you. If that'll help you.
That would help me because me and my 15,000, I never
Okay.
read anything emailed.
Okay, we'll email all the board policies to you.
I just emailed it to you just now, so I don't forget.
Thank
The
you.
search function in Outlook is a huge help I've found. Okay, thanks everybody on that. Would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shearer,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
Yes.
Okay, that passes 7-0. Next up, Dr. Mohammed, any key performance indicator update?
Not today, but in December, I'm hoping I will get to the country.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Pearl, anything in there to?
Only just to make sure that you have the work session on the 24th on your schedule. And then lots of still sporting events. Again, the vocal music concert is this weekend, Friday and Saturday, 2 performances on Saturday. I'd really encourage you to try and come. If you haven't seen a vocal music performance, they're just absolutely amazing, as are all of our fine arts stuff. But I think you will really enjoy that.
When is it on the calendar, sir?
It's in your board calendar on page 33. Vocal music concert this Friday and Saturday, Friday night, 7:30, Saturday, 2 and 7:30.
And it's in the auditorium?
It's in the theater. And if you want tickets, let us know by tomorrow, because they will sell out. You won't be able to walk up and get tickets.
Thanks to Jennifer.
Yeah, Jennifer will get them reserved so you can come up to the will call window and pick them up. No cost.
Instrument concert was
And
good.
then, is there a football game this weekend at home?
Yeah.
Or is it away?
No, it's at home.
Where is the auditorium?
In
It's-
the,
Tallest building on campus.
It's straight across
Thank
in
you.
the,
I can
in the,
find that.
I know, that's what I always say. Tallest
White
building.
auditorium or urban white?
art gallery.
Art
Yeah.
I know, I'm a simpleton, aren't I?
When you're short, you don't look tall. I'm not.
I will endeavor to comment on anything that gets circulated in the work session, but I will be out on that Monday, so
Okay,
I will not be here for that.
okay.
Hopefully underwater.
Oh,
That's the plan.
good deal on that.
Last item on our agenda is executive session. Does everyone have a copy of the
There's an
updated?
updated, yeah.
There's an updated request. If would entertain that motion, if someone would like to make it.
Where's that
Mr.
at?
Chair, I move that the board recess into executive session for consultation with legal counsel for the board, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship pursuant to the open meetings exception for matters protected by consultation with legal counsel, and to discuss non-elected personnel pursuant to the open meetings exceptions for matters of non-elected personnel, which, if discussed in open meeting, might violate their right to privacy, and that the members of the board, President Kim Kroll, Ray Cannell, Alyssa Ehrlich, and Shelley Stoltz be included. And if we could meet for 60 minutes, please.
Shelby, did you have anything you want to add?
It's included in there. Do we have a second to that?
I'm a
motion?
second.
I did have a discussion, right?
Yes, that's the
Well,
they're non-elected personnel. It's
Right, right. Well, the only thing we're gonna discuss it partly, it was in the Wichita Eagle. And I didn't know about it till, I'm not gonna say any names, it's all here in public. So we had one.
No,
police chief-
let's talk about exec session, and if you feel like we need to talk something in open afterwards, let's circle back
In
afterwards.
60 minutes?
There's multiple items.
That's fine. I can make my comment afterwards, but before we log out, I'll make it.
Any other discussion on the motion to go into exec session?
I have comments also, so.
Let's- yep.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes.
Yes.
Trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shearer,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
Yes.
And Jennifer,
And
thanks
as
for
we've done in the
being
past, I'll
there.
announce our times in and out once we get
You know, the only thing. we
Virtually
miss
moved in.
every month
Is this a record to be done at?
I'll
Oh.
let them
Five
know that they
fifty.
need to bring him. Is what?
It is, knock on wood, we're not done yet.
I know. Is it a record that we're done at 5:50?
I don't think so.
It is still up
Are you-
to us.
exec session without me, because I need to go back.
I think we can.
You can.
Can we?
You can.
Do you need a motion to extend the,
Yes, but let me, we're back on. I want to announce what time we went in and came out. So that's on the record. Okay, we're back in open session. Just for the record, we started in exec session at 5:55, coming out at 6:55, and would entertain a motion to extend for 15 minutes for the same reasons we previously entered.
I'll make a motion to extend 15 minutes.
Okay,
And I'll second.
okay. That moved and seconding, can we?
Trustee
Starting
Good,
when Kim gets back.
trustee Brungart is absent. Trustee Jolly,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes.
Yes.
Trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Shear,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
Yes.
Okay, that passes 6-0 with one abstention. And one absent, yeah. And again, we'll announce the times in and out when we come out on the other side.
Be more transparent.
Good. Okay, we are back in open session. We went in at 6:58. We're out at 7:13. So I think we have no more items on the agenda. Shelby, did you want
I
to?
was just gonna make one statement. There was some stuff in the paper that came out that I had no knowledge of until it came out in the paper. And Julie was reprimanded in June, I believe, for going around the chain of command and calling to ask questions of the police department. And she specifically asked about the end of the article about the crashed police vehicle. At no time were we specifically informed what happened to the vehicle or the circumstances. It was just kind of like, you know. I just don't appreciate Julie trying to find out some discrepancies and something that's sticking out, like what's going on here. We're not really informed, and then we learn about it in paper. So I would just like, especially if we see something that raises a question, even if it's an executive session, I would like to be informed. It wouldn't have mattered either way. At the end of the day, it would have been like, oh, okay, heard about that, no big deal. When I learn about it later, after someone being reprimanded for trying to find out specifically what happened, it's like, it just kind of irritates me. So I just want to make that statement.
I just couldn't find out if Mr. Levita still worked here or not. That's all. And since I couldn't get anywhere by inquiries, I just finally just called the police department and asked for him. I figured if he was there, I could just hang up or say, oh, I just wanted to make sure you were still there because I thought he was a good candidate. I remember when we hired him, thought he had a good background and a military background, if I remember right.
This is personnel issues that we shouldn't be talking about in open session.
But my point is, I would really like some straight answers, and I don't want to find out about them in another way. I don't want to find out about them from somebody that's a citizen. I don't want to find out from a paper. I want Kim to come and tell us when there's an issue that is a potential going on, or if there's a turnover issue, for instance, in a particular department, I want to know. And as long as we're on policy, I also want to know what the cost is before anybody comes to the podium and wants money. I want to know the total cost. My example is tonight, the $200,000 when we don't have the bids on that locker or whatever you want to call it. So if that sounds like I'm being mean and snotty, well, you know, I just want more transparency for everyone.
Would entertain.
I sure did. I sure did.
I would like to make a statement. I never had a phone call, Julie, to my office or an email
Whoa, stop.
from you
Let Dr. Cole finish.
regarding your question that you directed to ESOM and that you directed to public safety. You did not reach out to me first, and I'm going to defend that because it
never
didn't
called
happen. You
I
didn't
don't
call
call
or email. No,
I
you didn't.
I did approach you at a meeting and I said, what's going on with all the transitioning and what's going on in the safety department? And you blew me off, but it's okay. I'm just making a public record of it. I would just like to know.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
All right, so move.
Come on, Cam, jump on that second.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Brungart,
Yes.
trustee Jolly. Yes. Trustee Rhodes.
Yes.
Trustee Winslow,
No, I mean, yes.
trustee Shearer,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
Yes.